All right, welcome back, everybody. So my break was not intentional. It just kind of happened. I've talked before about how my brain cannot do things unless I really want to, unless I really feel like it. And I just was in a place for a while where I didn't want to and I didn't feel like it. So I needed to take some time and work through what was going on and why it was going on and how to get myself unstuck. So for a while now, a while being probably over a year, I've been feeling like what we do at Starfish Social Club isn't enough. If you don't know what we do, I teach autistic and ADHD kids and teens how to make friends. That's basically the gist of what we do. That part of it, I feel like, is amazing. I'm so proud and excited for my students and the progress and the growth that they make, the connections they make with other kids, the challenges that we work through on a weekly basis. That part of it, hands down, amazing. What I don't do very well is teach other adults how to best support our kids, which means the skills and strategies that my students are learning probably don't make it too far past our parking lot. I'll admit that I focus so much on the kids because I prefer kids to adults. I'm not what we would call a people person. And to me, adults are people. My students, on the other hand, are my people. So it's fun and easy and rewarding for me to focus on them. But it's not so fun when I realize my kids are getting in trouble in school, which has happened with several of our students recently. Or when home life is such a challenge for their parents, which is another thing that has come up recently. Or when I hear that my kids are being teased at school or left out, or that their parents and teachers are coming to me at a loss for how to help them. Those things aren't so fun. And I know things could be different if I got out of my comfort zone and did more to help. Speaking of comfort zones, how are you feeling about the holidays coming up? Now, I'm not a parent of a kid with social learning challenges, but here's what I know. Holidays mean kids are at home without a routine, without structure, with all their siblings, with a lot of downtime, with all the excitement of the holiday season. These coming months can be stressful for parents, dealing with finances, travel, seeing family, making plans, and having kids at home for 2 weeks. Some families even struggle with extended family, judging their kids, their parenting choices, trying to protect their kids from rude comments, judgmental conversations, isolated activities, and overstimulation. A lot of our kids experience increased anxiety for all of the reasons mentioned above. You'll probably see more screen time out of avoidance or the need for stimulation, which also means more struggles to get kids off of their screens. You may see bedtime avoidance, meal avoidance. And then there's the last weeks of the school year for the end of the calendar year. There's holiday parties, gift exchanges, days without structure because we're watching movies or having parties. There might be field trips. There's sugar, Most of our socially challenged kids do not do well with all of this going on. As I said, I'm not a parent. Most of these circumstances don't apply to me. Around the holidays, it's just me and my precious kitty cat. I have my own challenges around the holidays. I'm actually estranged from my family. It's not something I really talk about. It's actually not something I even think about on a regular basis. It's just a choice I made at some point in the past. Kind of like how at some point in the past, I chose to stop drinking alcohol and I chose to stop eating pizza. It's just another thing about my life that I chose at one point that I don't really think about until I'm around other people who have or do that thing. Like, I don't think about the fact that I don't drink until I'm in an environment where people are drinking. Pizza isn't even on my mind until someone asks me what kind of pizza I want, usually at a cohort outing with our Starfish students. I don't really think about the fact that I don't have a relationship with my family until there's a reason it comes up, like the holidays. If you haven't figured this out about me, I'm a bit of a nonconformist. I really get a kick out of being different, doing different, thinking different. I absolutely love being around my students so much because we are all our own version of different. Being a bit of a rebel is the reason I'm successful at what I do. I'm able to see and think about things in ways that other people can't or don't. Being disruptive helps me advocate for myself and others. I've had people arrested, taken to court. I've righted a lot of wrongs in my day because I refuse to tolerate things that just aren't okay. As an adult, I find it pretty fun to be a bit of a maverick. I own it. I actively pursue it. As a child, my strong personality got me in trouble regularly. Not into trouble, as in I did things that didn't work out so well for me. That's not what I mean. I mean, I got in trouble. I was punished. There were artificial consequences imposed upon me by the powers that be on a regular basis. I was yelled at. I was constantly grounded. I was sent to my room. My phone was perpetually taken away. Back in my day, it was a landline phone with my own personal phone number. I was told I was disowned when I came home from college with piercings and tattoos. Growing up, stories were told about how difficult I was. There was a story about the time I kicked a doctor in the face. There was a story about the time I told a woman on an airplane to shut up. There was a story about how I always picked on my brother because I was younger and he wasn't allowed to pick back. There was a story about how I didn't listen when I was told to stay away from the horse and it stepped on my hand. There's a story about how I lost it when I came home from camp and my mother and brother had painted my bedroom for me, but I wanted to do it myself. There are no stories about how I really needed mental health help by the time I reached high school. There are no stories about how I had a plan to end my life when I was 15. There are no stories about how I ended up in a psychiatric facility in my early 20s, about how I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety and a personality disorder. Most of these things my family didn't know about. There is no story in my family about how I was diagnosed with ADHD in 2021, about how it helped me understand so much about my behavior and my choices, and how that was the true diagnosis for me, not the ones I got 20 years ago. There's no story about that, because by the time that happened, I no longer had a relationship with my family. I don't know that they even know. When kids are raised in a climate of misunderstanding, it creates thought loops in their mind that there must be something wrong with them, that they aren't good enough, that they aren't okay. Misunderstanding often leads to punishment, spanking and yelling. It can also mean threats to take things away or actually taking things away, not being allowed to do certain things based on their behavior. But it doesn't have to be that extreme. Misunderstanding our kids can also lead to belittling comments, little things that chip away at their self-esteem. You know better than that. How many times do we have to talk about this? I'm tired of having to listen to this. When will you ... Why can't you ... I can't believe you ... It's not that hard to ... Even when we say these things in a funny, joking manner, they're not funny and they're not joking. And they have a serious impact on our kids' mental health. And here's the thing about kids. They're all doing the best they can with what they have. No kid wants to feel like they aren't good enough. No kid wants to rely on medication and therapy to be okay. No kid wants to feel isolated and alone. No kid wants a reputation for being annoying. And here's the thing about parents. They're all doing the best they can with what they have. No parent wants to feel like they don't know how to help their child. No parent wants to rely on doctors and therapists to tell them what their child needs. No parent wants to feel like a failure and isolated. I usually spend November and December trying to forget the fact that I don't have a relationship with my family. I'm usually at home alone or out in nature, keeping my mental health in check, while everyone I know is with their parents or their kids, or out of town somewhere with the people they love, or wrapped up in buying gifts for those they care about. None of those are things that I participate in. This year, I've decided to crawl out of my hole and do something different. This year, I'm going to spend November and December on a mission to help keep other families intact. Families whose kids are struggling when it comes to making friends, struggling with anxiety or depression, struggling with following rules and maintaining boundaries. Families who feel like they don't know how to help their child. Families who have strained relationships because they stand up for their child's needs. Families who feel like worn out warriors. Here's what I know. When parents understand their child's social profile, they are in the best position to preserve their relationship. When parents have insight into why their kid does or doesn't do what they do or don't do, they are in a position to help. This probably all makes sense to you. It's pretty logical. Here's something you may not realize. The way parents interact with their kids plays a huge role in their kids' future relationships. For our Starfish kids with social learning challenges, whether they're socially anxious, socially naive, or socially rejected, the way the adults in their life interact with them plays a significant part in their social skills with other kids. So this fall, I'm creating a new course designed to help parents not only improve their child's ability to make and maintain friendships, but to preserve their relationship with their child in the process. And it's not just for parents, it's for any adult who interacts with our kids, teachers, therapists, grandparents, anyone. Regardless of your role in the life of our socially challenged kids, understanding and respecting their social profile is the most effective way to help them make friends and preserve your relationship with them. 2 outcomes, 1 program. Go to www.starfishsocialclub.org/empowered advocate to join the waiting list. Let's get through the holidays together. Improved friendship skills for kids, improved family relationships for all. Thanks for joining me for this episode. On our next episode, I'm going to talk about my journey through the dark side of what I do, the years that I spent not knowing what I was doing, even though everybody thought I did, how difficult it was for me trying to advocate for my students, but really not even knowing if I knew that I was doing what was best for them. So come join me. We'll talk about the journey that I've been on. I'm sure it will sound very similar to the journey that you've been on. And then we'll find our way through it together. I'll see you next time.